Fuck yeah, baby. We are back. We're back with another Tuesday live stream analysis, and things are actually happening. Things are actually happening in the background. Bitcoin trading up almost to $89,000 yesterday, which was a major area that we've been looking at as the most likely area to put in another lower high. However, several things have happened on the back end now that do make me rather optimistic for the more medium and long term. So I do think that ultimately this does produce at least a nice trade opportunity, and in a high probability sort of setup, which is what we're going to be going over today. Of course, I do understand that there are a lot of new people in here. That's awesome. There's a lot of people watching, especially for such a slow time, which is great to see. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of old faces. This is great. I see El Satoshi, fuck her, but I do see Shady B. What's up, man? Long time, very, very long time. Sushi Yum Yums, also a very, very long time, man. It's great to see the OGs of this cave in this place. Zero 180, what's up, man? Michael Blast, Nako, Asti, Screamer. Holy shit, man. It is like all of the OGs are coming back. It is fucking amazing, man. During these times is when that typically happens. Anyways, very happy to see that. We got some ring action from LJ. Okay, but are we rich again, says El Satoshi. Well, I am, but you're not. So just kidding. No, we're both poor. Okay, so pack up your bags because we actually have to leave this house. It's bad. It's real bad. Mogul tier is G indeed. What?
We are leaving though.
We are. That is right. We are leaving. We are going to Florida. Hopefully, soon. I'm trying to figure out excuses to just move to Florida like tomorrow, but I can't think of any good excuses to do it. Instead, I only find reasons why I should logically, or why we should logically stay here at least until 2026. But it is what it is, man. Some food vouchers, indeed. We can buy our nice sodas and sugary drinks and snacks, our fried snacks with our, of course, food vouchers. Beautiful. I fucking love that system. Let's just make sure that all of the poor people are also fat and stupid as well. Perfect idea. Perfect fucking idea. What are those? Food stamps? Food stamps, like if you have a very, very low income, then you can qualify for something, or even no income, you can qualify for something called food stamps in America, where you essentially get your food paid for by the government, or at least some of it paid for by the government. So yeah, North or South Florida, that's what we need to decide. Looking at Tampa, looking at also Boca Raton as well, and maybe Orlando. I do like some things about Orlando, of course. A lot less of a risk with fucking hurricanes, right? But the more that I look into it, the hurricane risk is really most of an issue to very, very specific areas, and most of the newer stuff seems to have been built to withstand it. So hopefully, but who knows? I mean, maybe in 50 years it's not going to be true. How is Finland cost of living? Finland cost of living? It's very strange here, honestly, man. So how could I explain this? Because it's weird. The normal every day-to-day stuff that you buy at a grocery store, supermarket, these sort of places, it's actually quite reasonable. So for example, the pound or so of ground beef that I buy per day, that's only about €5. And it actually came down recently as well. It came down I think at one point it was like $6.50, and then it came down to $5 recently. So things are deflating a bit. If I got a steak, it's very similar prices to America. About what is it, like €15 for half. Yeah, about 15 euros for about a pound. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. So, a lot of things are super reasonable, but other things with the cost of living, like taxes and shit like that here, are fucking astronomical, especially for, even ordinary income earners. They get rather high tax rates. And there's just not a lot of opportunity here, I think, for the average person, and within the system. It's just, the system is meant to just continue going on and not really make much more progress in terms of increasing innovation, increasing in production, these sort of things. So it's a different system. It's a different thing, but people are, people are content here, I guess, or at least they are so docile that they just do not want to fight back. In fact, that's probably it. Very obedient population. In fact, during COVID, when the whole mask mandates were going around and, stay inside and all this sort of stuff, Elsa was talking with her friends, and some of her friends quite literally literally said this phrase. They said, "I just want to obey the government." Like, could you imagine an American saying that? I mean, of course, there's going to be some, right? But it's just such a crazy statement. It's like they really, really trust the system. They really trust that no one has any bad intentions in their mind, which is also, why they have, issues with immigration and shit like that as well. Oh. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Sir, we are here for the moons. We are on the moon right now. Bitcoin just rallied up nearly $10,000 off the lows. We're on the moon. Holy shit. The moon feels great. It looks great, but I think we're going to be having a return flight relatively soon. Sounds very similar to Australia. Yeah. I can imagine. So Australia, very unfortunately, because it's so beautiful. Like every time I look at where Jason Pizzino lives, he's always trying to get me down there. I'm like, damn, this actually would be a phenomenal spot. It truly is paradise, but you get a weird government in there, and it can make life a real fucking problem. Is it weirder than Finland? No, I don't. I mean, Finland's just more gay. I think they're just more like woman centric and shit like that. Yeah, something like that. But anyways, quant program got me out of my mom's basement. There we fucking go. That's the kind of feedback. That's the kind of reviews I'm looking for. Get out of your mom's basement with my program here. Perfect. That is great to hear, man. Power to you, my brother. Power to you, sir. When moon cycle chart? I mean, we can look at the moons if you really want. I don't think that there's anything new here, but last I checked, it was a full moon, right? Yeah, it was full moon back on the 14th of March. So just under about 10 days ago. So this one, is doing its job. The full moon is supposed to go up, right? So it is indeed doing that. But of course, we are going to get the bear moon actually quite soon because these things only last for 14 days. So we are just a few days away from day number 14. That will be not next, but this Friday. You'll get the bear moon. So if you are paying attention to this, again, I do think that in the background, things are starting to look a lot better for Bitcoin, but I don't think in the short term, things are looking great here for just like when I go across crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube and shit, what I see is a lot of people suggesting that it's going to be this. It's like, I highly, highly doubt that. I think that that's probably the least likely thing to happen. Now, I can be massively fucking wrong on that, but the same area that I'd use as a major bias for Bitcoin right now is still the same. Nothing's changed here. It is the 6th of March high at just under $93,000. As long as Bitcoin's below there, it is still within an overall downtrend. Now, like I said, I do think that this will present a nice opportunity. And personally, I'm not willing to say that the market cycle is over just yet, but and of course I can be wrong on that as well. But ultimately, I do think that in the short term, Bitcoin probably does come back down. I mean, this was again the perfect area to be seeing, your next lower high anywhere around $88,000 to $90,000, and we got up to, or Bitcoin got up to almost $89,000, which is right there in the middle. So, to me, that's that condition has now been met. Krown, your camera still has a dead pixel on it in the middle, bro. How can you even see that? I can't even notice it. I can't even see it myself. But fair enough. I don't know how to fix it, so I appreciate the feedback, man. But I don't know what to do with it. Unfortunately, it is what it is, man. Is that Excalibur on your wall? Actually, no. That is Anduril, the Flame of the West. Actually, Aragorn's sword when he became king. It is my prized possession. It's also battle ready as well. And Elsa got it for me as one of the best birthday gifts I could possibly ever have gotten. I also have a long sword on my other wall as well, which not as impressive, but very, very powerful. Really enjoy that. Really enjoy waving them around. That's a pimple, not a pixel. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, yeah, I have a pimple on my face. Like, it happens, man. It fucking happens. Okay. I'm only a human, man. Stop making fun of me. Like, this used to really get to me in high school. Holy shit, man. Making fun of me for my pimples, you bastard. Krown, take your top off. Yes, no problem. No up only. I'm disappointed, says Notch Boone Trader. Well, I'm gonna disappoint I'm always prone to disappointing many people. So it is what it is, man. OMG, mom, he read my comment. Bring it to Florida. You will need it. Indeed. What are we bringing to Florida? That is a real question, actually. My girlfriend's husband says we should pump soon. I like your girlfriend's husband. I think he's talking about a different kind of pump, though, and also on a different asset or a different ass, if you want to call it that as well. Anyways, Erica Krown, Nano Cave. Yes, indeed. Hash Urban's trigger. It actually has, which is why I'm not like full on massively long-term or even medium-term bearish here. But I do think that Bitcoin, probably has another swing to the downside, and then it's likely going to be up from there. But again, it's not a guarantee. It's just there's a very, very high probability of that. So, I'm always going to be interested in that as a trader. And maybe that's relevant to you or not. I don't know. Kind of wild that the VIX literally marked the bottom for Bitcoin stocks yet again. Do you ever chart it? Actually, I don't look at it too much myself, but yes, indeed, it does matter. And you can draw out a pretty good analysis by looking at it a lot of the time. But, we just look at so many fucking things on my channel already that I don't want to be adding anything new, to be honest. In fact, that's something I've been trying to do less and less and less, like less indicators, less things, just keep it more consistent, because I think it's easier to follow and just keeps things more consistent, really. So yeah, I dislike July, August, and the Florida summers. You have to have a pool. Yeah, well, I think that's a guarantee in Florida. But yeah, I understand that it's quite humid there. We're actually used to the humidity because of Dubai, and Dubai apparently gets significantly hotter plus the humidity than Florida. So when people complain about the humidity in Florida, I'm like, it's fucking annoying, sure, but
Obviously we will have a pool.
Elsa says, obviously we will have a pool. Yes. You're gonna make it. You're gonna dig it out yourself. That's exactly right. Zer Krown, El Satoshi is bullying me. Hey, stop bullying my mates, you bastard.
He's saying gay stuff.
Elsa has accused you of saying gay things, and she is now coming after you because Elsa is the gay police. She is the gay police. Yes. Fucking retarded. I'm out on the gators and pythons. Yeah, I mean, there are gators there, and I guess there are snakes there as well. I guess we'll see. I think, though, when Elsa first sees a gator or a snake, like in the actual wild, around like houses and stuff, I think she'll cry and want to leave and never come back. But it is what it is, man. Do you like the video game GTA 6 will boost? Do you think the video game GTA 6 will boost crypto adoption and price if they introduce in-game transactions? Only if those in-game transactions are done on a blockchain, I guess. But, would it increase adoption? In a way, I mean, you got more users actually using it, but they don't really care about it. I don't think it matters that much, to be honest. But naturally, most games are probably going to have in-game transactions that are using crypto rails because it's just more efficient and it's cheaper. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer, just from that perspective. What's up, Bear Nutrition? What's up, Caretaker? Our lovely moderators, good friends as well. I was in Abu Dhabi back in 2002 and remember the 120-degree. Yeah, man, it is fucking insane. 120-degree weather. Yeah. That's actually what it was like when we were there a couple of years ago. It was maybe in Celsius, like 42 to 43, 40, maybe even 44 degrees, and humid as fuck. Like, you feel like you're suffocating as soon as you go outside. It's oppressive. It really, that's real oppression, to be honest. I always imagined she would try to ride the manatees. Yeah, actually, she did really enjoy the aquarium where we did see some manatees. And what's the other thing we saw? Stingrays. Yeah, stingrays and sharks too. It's actually really, really good. They did a really good job there. And Nikki Page, what's up, Nikki Page? Good morning to you as well. Anyways, I think we can probably just get into the analysis. Let me see what time we're at right now. Yeah, 24 minutes in. Take a sip of this. Maybe I record this one and we put it up a little bit later as well. We'll see. I kind of want to make a complete standalone video because today's analysis is. Oh, Jesus, what's going on over here? Is my YouTube still working? Hold on. I just got some sort of a failure. Hopefully it's still streaming through there. Anyways, yeah. Okay, we're good to go. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, need human oppression. I'll read a couple more of these comments. Then we will get into it. The first Berserk Kazan, you gonna play it? I actually have no idea. I haven't really been keeping up with games, but it sounds like something that I'd probably be interested in. It's like a Souls-like game. Okay, then fuck yeah, man. That's my favorite type. Currently 28 degrees in Dubai. Yeah, these are this right now is probably the best time to be in Dubai, or it's maybe even getting a little bit hot at this point. But 28 degrees ain't bad. But around April and definitely May, holy shit, it starts to really get going again. Stingray says, Steve Irwin says, watch out for stingrays. Yes, indeed he does. Those drink sounds are wild. That's some crazy stuff. Indeed, man. Indeed. Has he fingered Bitcoin yet? Says Haven Pack. I don't know. Maybe we should do a little bit of action here. All right. And Shalom knocked him on says, hey, Krown, thanks for all your guidance. I even got used to your pace of speaking, which was very fast for me as a non-native speaker. So 10x, 10x, 10x. Fuck yeah, man. That's awesome. I've actually slowed down my own speech quite a bit. And that is really a function of just not having as much, of course, caffeine. All right, cool. Let me just reference my notes here. We'll make this one rather short. And actually, I will record it, but I really want to do like a better job in having like a full video because this area is quite important. What? Say what? Someone is saying. People are going to say. There's always going to be at least someone who doesn't like a place, sir. But you should hear him out. You should ask him why. Ask him why he thinks that. And if those reasons are relevant to you, then okay, we listen. But if not, then it's like, all right, I respect your opinion, but. We just have a different opinion. It's all good. Anyways, okay, cool. All good, Matthew Hampton. Appreciate that, man. All right, cool. Okay, we got this here. Okay. Maybe we get rid of the moons. I don't want to get too in the weeds with this. In yesterday's video, we were looking for a high probability lower high somewhere between 88,000 and 90,000 bucks based off of Bitcoin's overall downtrend, and Bitcoin has indeed hit just around 89,000 bucks on CME here and turned back down. So is this the sort of short-term rejection that we were looking for? Yes, I do believe so, but I'm not full-on mega massive bearish with selling everything on leverage, these sort of things. I'm certainly not of that type just yet. The reason why is because one of our most important signals has fired off in the background, which we'll get to a little bit later. But as far as Bitcoin goes here and in the short-term bias, it is still the same. As long as Bitcoin is below this last trending lower high at just around 93,000 bucks, I do have to remain with the downwards bias, meaning that Bitcoin can come back down, retest around the lows, but ultimately, because of the signal that we're going to speak about a little bit later, actually, I have to say that there's certainly a low probability of it actually closing below the current lows of March 11th or March 10th, depending upon whether you're on CME or spot Bitcoin. Anyways, as it stands right now, it does look like the daily time frame, and I believe also the 12-hour time frame as well. Indeed, it does. Hidden bearish divergence is forming right here. Again, it is starting to form a local high. It will not be confirmed as hidden bearish divergence until we see a closure below kind of where we're at right now, 86,500 bucks on CME. If and when that does happen, you got multiple drives of hidden bearish divergence here on the 12-hour time frame. The daily will actually have one as well, I believe. It's not going to show it right now because this thing is, according to my logic, is not showing like a local high just yet. But that does suggest short term still more likely to come back down a little bit. On top of that, we can see that stochastic momentum on the 12-hour is also going to be flipping to the downside. If Bitcoin, actually right now it'd be to the upside, but if Bitcoin does close on CME below 86,250, you're going to see the 12-hour stochastic oscillator also kind of, confirm that from another angle, meaning that you have hidden bearish divergence plus stochastic momentum both headed in the same direction. That is a lot of the time where high probability trades occur from. And again, you're getting rejected from like a major movement average right here as well, that green 55 exponential on CME, which is exactly where all of the rallies have been arrested since early February. You can see this high right here put in around that region. You can see this swing high here from early March. You can see this one here from the 6th of March, the really important one. And then of course, yesterday's high as well. So I would express caution in the short term. I don't think Bitcoin is going to do something like this in the extremely short term. I don't think it's going to be like this. Although when I go on crypto Twitter, it does seem that way. It does seem that way for sure. But crypto Twitter is its own sort of bucket of chaos, I guess. Anyways, let's now get into what I think is significantly more important, and it is a major signal that fired off upon yesterday night's closure, and that is the blue buy signal on the hash ribbons indicator. We officially have it. It is officially confirmed, and well, that is why I don't want to get full on super ultra mega bearish at this exact moment. This blue buy signal right here, the reason why it is significant, the reason why it is relevant, the reason why we bring it up so much is because anytime in the past when we've seen that blue buy signal confirm, it has essentially suggested that the prior trending higher low for Bitcoin was the low before never going below it ever again on a closing basis. Very, very key ingredient right there. But for example, when we go back to 2023, it fired off right here before a nice little dump off, yes, but your last trending higher low was right here as Bitcoin made new highs from this low. So that's the significant one. And you can see that Bitcoin did get quite close to it a couple months later, but it did not close below that low ever again. In fact, things were just straight up from there. I remember we were talking about that a lot on this channel during that time. Yes, it has failed a few times in the past. Out of 20 prior iterations, 3 of them have failed. So it is not a 100% probability, meaning that it could very well be that Bitcoin doesn't just come back to down to the lows, but makes new lows and creates like a pretty nasty downtrend or a continuation of the downtrend. But again, that is low probability. It's not impossible, certainly not impossible, but it is low probability. So, me as a trader, speaking from a trader's perspective right now, that makes me say, hey, I'm interested in perhaps some long-term longs from that region, or at least some medium-term longs from that region, because I like the risk-reward profile. Now, of course, I do all my trading automated through the Quant Prime service, which, by the way, you can try it for free for the first 30 days with the code trial in all capitals. You can also try out pretty much all of our indicator packages now with that same code trial in all capitals for 30 days. But yeah, if I was manually trading this, I would be looking at anywhere around the current low as a good do. And again, not because it's 100% guaranteed, but let's just draw a nice little rectangular box, the rectangular box of peace and prosperity, and something, anywhere around here. I'm super, super interested. Again, not because it's a guarantee, but because I know I have a very, very obvious risk management point, which is essentially the 10th of March low. As long as Bitcoin is above there, that is still intact. But the second that Bitcoin comes back down and closes below there, something else is going on. And that's actually going to be a signal that things are going to be heading much further south from there. Of course, there will be bounces along the way, most likely. But that is what it is. Anyways, as it stands right now, or just kind of going a little bit over the signal as well, I do want to point out that the average amount of days from that first capitulation signal, which we saw in the beginning of February, to the actual blue buy signal, on average, that takes about 42 days. And what do you know? Statistics are statisticking. And we do see from this particular signal, it was 48 days. So a little bit later, that's okay. Again, we expect some variance here. But again, I want to follow up on these sort of things for the people who have been on this channel for a long time now, so you can see how they operate in real time. And then next time when it happens, you're going to have like a mental model of what that reference point looks like. And, perhaps that can be valuable, or at least I hope it would be valuable. So it is what it is. Anyways, yes, this is all to say, I actually do think that Bitcoin is probably put in a low here, and I do think it probably comes down to this region. It's just, I think it's going to be an opportunity. But that is a big move, to be fair. I mean, from current posturing for Bitcoin at $86,500, I mean, that is, anywhere from like a 5 to almost 10% move from current price. So do be aware of that. What are your altcoins going to look like if Bitcoin comes down even 5%? I mean, shit, man, I was looking at Fartcoin earlier today. It's already down almost 10%, and like nothing really drastic has happened yet, which is kind of fucking crazy, man. But yeah. Anyways, I did want to also follow up on the meta signal. In fact, probably should have done this a little bit earlier as well, but target number 1 has been hit. That again is why yesterday we were having a very short-term bias of some more upside, at least somewhere around this region. Did get exceeded by a little bit, but I do want to reiterate that target number 2 at $92,000, that is around a 50% probability. So it could very well be that this one does fail from here below the stop loss point, which actually is pretty much around where I want to buy as well. And that is where is it? My brain is breaking. Yeah, about $80,000. So perhaps it does work hand in hand with that. In fact, that actually makes me a little bit more confident because MetaSignal's algorithm is getting a little bit better tuned in that direction. So seeing that area pop up from multiple different things, from multiple different angles, does make me a little bit more confident. But yeah, at the end of the day, there are no certainties. There's only probabilities. And something like this, while it is a high probability and something that I'm very interested in, again, I feel like I have to be so fucking clear with this or continue to repeat it, not for like the average viewer, but for like the fucking 5 people who are actually retarded, but somehow found this channel and need that sort of reinforcement. But for everyone else, I apologize because it's probably getting annoying. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this analysis for Bitcoin. Other than that, I still want to point out another reason why I don't want to get full on bearish here, and I do think that this ultimately results in an opportunity, is that the 5-day HPDRO continues to move to the upside after hitting this extreme level down here, the same extreme levels that have produced all of the major higher lows on the 5-day time frame since this bull market began in 2022, or the end of 2022, I should say. So this one fired off essentially on that first move to just around $80,000, and so far so good. So another thing that is coming from a completely different angle that does make me more confident in this blue box right here. If things do come back down around there, I mean, it becomes an obvious area, right? Again, a counterpoint to this, if you're just looking at the HPDRO, is that the HPDRO made the lowest low we've seen this whole cycle. So maybe that's a change of behavior. But before that, it had. Was this the low? Actually, no, it did not make a new low there. Okay, so fair enough. Yeah, this is quite literally the lowest level we have seen throughout this whole market cycle. So maybe that's a counter signal, to be honest. But for now, I'm going to go with a bullish interpretation, just because of cycles, just because of timing and stuff like that. Again, I do fully expect that at some point cycles or the Bitcoin cycles will fall apart, but until we actually see it fall apart once, I'm hesitant to call like the first one, right? But yeah, looking at the HPDR bands, not seeing anything super obvious here. It's kind of telling us what we already know in terms of the overall range, but just further confluence right there as well. So yeah, anyways, that's where I'll leave this video for today. As always, I want to wish everyone the best. We'll continue to update on this particular setup and on these, and on these signals that we've been looking at throughout, until their resolution, basically. So with that said, I'd like to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time. By the way, I forgot to mention, I've also been doing crypto school as well, which is just like a free, it's like a very beginner friendly, free course for anyone who signs up to the Blofin link. Then you have to go through the crypto school portal as well. But just in case, if there's anyone new here, of course, you're more than welcome to join on in. It's 100% free. You just need to sign up with an exchange account, and you don't even need to fucking use it once, to be honest. Like you can just get through, you can just sign up with a completely bullshit email and then get in there. And if you want to learn a little bit of my own strategies and whatnot, well, it'll be there in a very rudimentary and basic form. But yeah, anyways, I am going to take a sip of this, and then we'll get into the super chats, and then we'll get into some of the comments as well. I see that Elsa's already got a bunch lined up for me, which is good. She's doing her job. I don't need to replace her with another robot because she's already been replaced in a couple areas. All right. I see Steven Schickman is first. He's looking at Doggy. He's looking at Doggy daily, weekly, monthly. All right. Well, let's pull up this chart. Actually, no. I want to look at it from this angle. Okay, what's the old Doggy Derp coin doing? Surely it's going to be doing extremely well. And what do you know? well, it is having a nice bounce, I guess, but at the same time, this is first pass on that red 5 exponential moving average on the weekly is likely going to be a pushback. So I have to say the same thing as Bitcoin. I do think probably comes back down closer to low here. I could be wrong on that again, and you'll know that I'm wrong on that if this thing starts to close above 19.5 cents. But I'd be favoring this as likely another lower high. Similar to Bitcoin as well, like very, very similar to Bitcoin. Looking at the weekly, do we have anything super obvious here? While I do think that this first pass will be a rejection and it comes back down, I don't think you're going to be breaking below the 200 simple, this white moving average, or essentially the lows from March anytime soon. I think you might retest down around there. It's possible for sure, but I'm not looking for a breakdown from there. I think that things still have a bigger rally from this region, even if they have extremely bearish structures over the long term. So, this thing in the short term probably comes back down again, but I do think it does put in a greater bounce after that, somewhere between a quarter, on the lower end, and maybe even as high as like 30 cents on the upper end. So yeah, man, hopefully that was helpful. And then you're also asking about Bitcoin dominance. Man, Bitcoin dominance, I always have to repeat this as well, because I don't think it represents what people think it represents. Like, people look at Bitcoin dominance to get into altcoins and think it's alt season, but there's been many alts, despite Bitcoin dominance being fucking vertical since 2022, there's been many alts that have massively fucking outpaced Bitcoin, like massively outpaced Bitcoin to the upside and overperformed. But it's just a small select sector, and in the greater sea of an endless amount of shitcoins in the whole world, it's not going to show up on a chart like this. This one just continues up because most shitcoins trend towards zero over a long enough period of time. So and there's more being added every fucking day. So Bitcoin dominance would naturally go up, I suspect, anyways. So this is not to say that like altcoins can't go up here. In fact, I think there's been many big altcoin winners in the past year and a half now. To prove that. Anyways, as far as Bitcoin dominance goes, it's like, is this still a high right here? Is this thing still gonna top out in this region? I guess so. I really don't fucking know, because like I said, this chart doesn't really represent like what I think most people are looking at it for. But if you want to go off of just pure technicals, I'd be looking at this high right here, and I'd say, hey, as long as you're closing monthlies below 61.5%. It's probably a local swing high, and it probably comes back down. But this thing can obviously just continue on to the upside as well. It's just, I think what's going to be much more powerful for you, what's going to be much more serving, is to look at your favorite shitcoin versus Bitcoin, and then you'll know if it's a strong one or not. Then you'll know if it's a good time to actually be getting into that thing or not. Because I still think that just blindly throwing a dart at the altcoin charts on fucking coin market derp is a terrible, terrible strategy from cycle to cycle. It really is only a couple of sectors that get the love in any particular cycle, and that's been consistent since 2017. But people continue to play out the 2017 playbook, which is all alts go to heaven and beyond. It's like, no, 90% of alts, no, shit, 99% of alts go to hell. 1% of them goes to heaven. Anyways. Let me get back over here. We have Shady B next. What's up, man? It's been a very, very long time. Shady says, Krown, longtime fan since the old days. I know, man. I recognize all of the OGs, and pulled my Bitcoin out at $101,000 thanks to the skills learned from you. So that's fucking awesome, man. Again, more power to you, and great fucking execution on that. Great execution on that. That is, in hindsight, just a phenomenal area to trade. Now looking to buy back in. Okay, sweet. Your insights have been invaluable. Congrats on I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. So as far as areas, I think it's probably quite obvious, granted, like the Bitcoin analysis, what areas I'm looking at, but basically especially anywhere below like $84,000, I think is probably going to be good long-term. I don't know if you are particularly long-term yourself. It sounds like you probably are, because you sold at 101. So I'm guessing like, you probably bought probably like well below $70,000 if I had to guess. So if you are more long-term, yeah, I like anywhere in this region right here. We'll see what happens if and when Bitcoin does get around there. But, until then, I'm just generally angled towards this region. I like this region, again, not because it's 100% probability, but a very high probability and a very obvious and well-defined risk management area, which is that low from the 11th of March, which is also in alignment, or just about in alignment with the blue moving average down here, which is a 377 exponential, very, very high period moving average, also very powerful fib number as well. So, I like that area. Again, it's a very obvious risk management area. If Bitcoin starts to close below there, okay, out and just let it do what it's going to do. Probably comes down to like $50,000 after that. But for right now, yeah, I do think that you made some fucking phenomenal trades. And I think you probably make another couple of phenomenal ones after Bitcoin gets back down around there. Anyway, Sushi Yum Yum says Tesla weekly. All right, let's check out Tesla. Tesla, last we looked at it, we were looking for a big bounce, and we are getting a big bounce. In fact, a really big bounce. Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, when you have two of these long-legged sort of hammer dildos right here alongside a major moving average like the 200 simple, on a high time frame like this as well, it's probably going to be a local low, and this one is definitely a local low. And I do think that it probably tries a bit higher in the more short term as well. Does this thing give a run up to 300 or a little bit over 300? Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. But as far as the daily trend goes, still bearish as long as you are below this high here. Still kind of have to have a general bearish bias. Now, my opinion is that it will reverse that trend, especially given enough enough time. But if you want to go like just straight up technicals, that would be that would be the area actually. But for right now, monthly is bouncing really well off the green 55, so I look at that as a good long-term signal. Again, I do think that this is essentially going to be a low right here at 250 closing price. So anywhere around there is probably good long-term. And again, it just offers up like a super obvious area to be managing risk. Like if Tesla, almost said Bitcoin, but if Tesla closed below the 200 simple, then yeah, okay, goes back down into the lower block, maybe, I don't know, definitely below $200, but probably closer to like 150 to 180. But until then, long term, I think it's fine. Short term, probably continuation. I do think very likely you'll see at some point today like 285, maybe it even guns for like 300 plus before the week is over. But I don't think that I don't think it's going to be a fucking moonshot like this from here. I think it's going to be more so like my original LARP line, which is a bit more upside, then probably comes back down. Then I want to see a very obvious higher low on a weekly time frame, and at that point, that's where I'd say, okay, this is probably it, and this thing is ready for some upside, ready for some more prolonged upside. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next one. We have Khalifa next. He says pound versus dollar. Yeah, let's look at some Forex, man. Forex is always fun, always unique, and always different. It's like the LARP lines are already playing out here. I don't know when we looked at this one last. I'm guessing back earlier this month. We were looking for a bit of a correction after, I guess, a short-term upside move. We've gotten the short-term upside move. This is like a little bit too perfect right now. It's not supposed to be like that, by the way. These are just for visualization purposes. But yeah, I do think that this one comes down a little bit lower, to be honest. I do think you at least see a move down to 128.5. Maybe it even comes down a little bit closer to 128 even, but that's where I'd be looking for a bit of a short-term bounce. But oh yeah, you are on a daily. Okay, so that's maybe not super relevant to you. Overall, I guess for your particular case, I would be looking at this as a swing high, extremely likely swing high on the weekly here, which means that, it'd probably bounce at around 120.5 or 128 even, but that bounce probably fails and, it comes down a little bit lower. Maybe on the weekly comes down like 127.5, which is a decently big move for a Forex pair like this. See what the monthly looks like, just out of curiosity. Yeah, monthly, I still like for general upside. I don't think that this is, I do think that this one has actually reversed the trend. And at some point, you know, in the coming years, maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes 2 years, we see it somewhere back around the highs from the last like 5 years at around 140-ish region. But in the short term, a little bit more of a pullback. I'd just be looking for higher lows though, because yeah, the monthly still looks okay. Anyways, Anima says Solana daily, weekly, please, good sir. Very polite, very nice. Let's see, Solana. So last we looked at Solana. In fact, for the past like 3 weeks on Solana, we've been looking for a bounce. Bounce at least comes up to. I mean, preferably, I'd like to see it come to like 160 to 180, but has hit the red 5. So, you know, first pass again, it's probably going to be a bit of a pullback. You know, I think similar to Bitcoin, this thing likely comes back down in the more short/medium term. You know, you have a very obvious balance point right here, but I do think it fails. I think you get something like this, and it comes back down to the lower block, and then it gives an actual try to the upside after everyone's lost hope yet again. But ultimately, you know, that's all short-term stuff. That might not be relevant to you, because one thing that is very obvious to me is that Solana is going, I shouldn't say it's going to, but it's very likely to bounce higher. I do still think anywhere around like 160 to 180-ish region is quite likely on a bounce. Just, again, that doesn't really do anything for it long-term, to be honest, man. Like, it's been beat up so much. I mean, from the highs, how big are we down? 62% almost from high to low. So yeah, I think you get a mean reversion bounce here. But you know, long term, I'd be really fucking skeptical of this thing as long as it's below $200 at least. I don't know. So I do think it's going to bounce higher. Just, well, I guess we'll figure that one out if and when we get there. All right, we shall go on to BF. He says, Fartcoin versus Ethereum. Okay, well, well, it's probably better than charting it versus the dollar, but we will see. Maybe I eat my words on that, and it is definitely better than charting it versus the dollar. We can see here, Fartcoin is very likely to continue to outpace Ethereum. This is a clear reversal. This is a clear upturn right here. Major move down to switching into a bullish posture. And I think that this one has higher to go. I think that this one works its way back up at some point. I mean, not today, but perhaps over the next couple of weeks, somewhere around this point right here. I think is actually quite likely. I'd only get bearish on this thing if it comes back down below what is a Sunday's low. Until then, I mean, the most obvious direction here is to the upside. Yeah, over a long enough period of time, I do think it rallies a lot more. So 1 fart equals 1 Ethereum. No, 1 fart is greater than 1 Ethereum, it seems like, and outpacing it at an increased direction. Anyways, we have Blue Car next. He says, much love, Krown. What's up, man? Can I get your opinion on stock NGD? NGD. Okay. I'm glad that you specified it is indeed a stock. It's called New Gold. I'm guessing it has something to do with gold. Maybe it's a gold miner. I don't know. It probably is a gold miner because long term that chart fucking sucks. But in the short term, do I think that this thing is going to move higher? Let's see. It's kind of hard not to see it hitting the 200 simple at some point on the monthly. You know, similar to Bitcoin, although this is like significantly further away in terms of time. You know, you do still have your trending lower high here at about 4.25. So it can easily rally up to the 200 simple at 390 and reject from there. In fact, I think that that's probably going to happen. But yeah. I'd feel quite comfortable saying that. Only bearish if it comes back down below essentially the March lows, or not even March lows, but 2 weeks ago's low, which is 275 or so. As long as it's above there, man, I'm looking for this one to continue upwards and always got hidden bullish evidence here on the weekly on very, very low volatility. and it looks like a reaccumulation plus still an uptrend on higher lows, more importantly, on the weekly time frame here. So yeah, I would be favoring continuation of upside, but not a reversal yet on the macro, if you will. I don't know if that's relevant to you. Just last week's candle looked like a top. BBWP was low, so hoping for more upside. Yeah, I think that it's more like that there's more upside here. Overall, and it sounds like you're on the higher term timeframes, which is cool. But in the very, very short term, do you see a correction down to like $3.11, $3 Possible, sure, but it doesn't really do anything. At least in my opinion, it doesn't really do anything for the overall trend, which it seems like you're probably playing if you're looking at stuff like this. Yeah, BBWP being very, very low here, plus fresh momentum offsetter signals favoring the upside. I'm going to always favor that direction as well. Not always going to be right on it, but going to be right more often than not on it. So yeah, I still think it hits somewhere around here. And then if it is going to be bearish, you'd be expecting a big rejection from about 390 or so. Let's see. We got Andrew Miramontes. He says, Caspa, por favor. Yes, mi amigo. We will look at the Caspa coin. The Caspa coin. This one, very, very popular. Back, Jesus, feels like so long ago, but back, I'd say, yeah, 2024, summer. Super popular. This one was actually looking really good back around then. It was making new all-time highs. This is, in fact, exactly what I mean when I was referencing earlier the ineffectiveness of the Bitcoin dominance chart. Like if you were looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart during that time, you would have been, oh, this is not alt season. Like I can't make money in alts. There's no way. But this thing was rallying to the like literal fucking moon. This is over 1,500% rally, like in less than a year. That's fucking insane. Anyways, as far as Caspa goes, overall, I don't think that this thing will actually, I don't think that this thing will ever reclaim all-time highs, or at least definitely not this cycle. And that's probably as far as I should take it. So let's actually just land on that one. But there will be bounces along the way, of course. Like these things don't move straight down. But for right, I am seeing hidden bearish divergence on the daily RSI. I wasn't expecting to see it right here, to be honest. But it is indeed there. It is still a lower high. So fair enough. I guess I'd have to say the same thing as I think on Bitcoin. I think that this one comes a little bit closer to the low. But I have a hard time seeing it break to new lows. I think it could very easily be something like this, puts in a higher low ultimately, and then tries a real upside move, because this thing has been essentially straight down since, what is this, December of last year. That's like that's close to 4 months of just fucking downside. I do think that you're going to bounce and likely find another lower high, maybe somewhere between like 11 to 12 cents, but that would still be a decent bounce before then, and then probably does swing back down. That would be a perfect place for a swing high, and then turn back down towards the hellish direction. But for now, give it a chance to bounce after this short-term pullback. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You'll know I'm wrong because it closes on new lows. If that happens, I guess the next hopium is that there's bullish divergence. But, this thing, like I said, I'd feel very confident saying, okay, definitely for this cycle, highs are in. I personally, you're going to be right more often than not by betting on that being the all-time high for forever when it comes to altcoins. So, that's kind of what I'm going off of there. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful, man. Let's see. I'll get over onto the comments over here as well. Edgar Huzar is looking at AVAX. Okay, AVAX. All right, let's bring it up. Don't really know what to expect with this chart. I don't think we've looked at it for a while as well. This one actually might try a continuation of the short-term upside move first before coming back down. Yeah, I'm almost more inclined to say that. I think at some point in the coming month or two, you're going to see this thing back around $27 to even $30, somewhere around there. But I'm not bullish on this. I want to be very fucking clear. I don't think it's reversing back up to these highs, or at least that's certainly not what I'm thinking right now, as long as it's below about $35. But I do think your next move is a continuation of the bounce, instead of, new lows below your March lows. Trying to look for some super obvious here. Yeah, quarterly is the obvious one to me. Any sort of closure at the end of this month, which is the end of the quarter, in 6 days, 6.5 days now, below $29. Like, look, whatever bounce that it gets, I would feel quite confident in saying that it's an opportunity to offload some of your liquidity. We'll put it that way. A very diplomatic way of explaining it. Juan Satoshi says, "Good morning, hair crown." That's, I appreciate it. Maybe the wrong prefix, but all good. Tobias says, "EGen USD on the daily weekly." Sure. EIGEN. Okay. I think this is a new one for me. I don't think I've ever seen this thing before. Already don't like it. That's your quarterly chart. Yeah, we have another chart here that's probably, I mean, cycle highs are in, maybe highs for life are in. You got the same sort of hidden bearish divergence potential here as well, pending today's closure. If it closes anywhere here or lower, I would be looking for another try close to the lows or at new lows for something like this, because it's hard to, Jesus Christ, just absolute garbage here. Absolute fucking garbage. But look, the reason why I do think it is likely to bounce more than it is to just create new lows after revisiting around the current lows, similar to Bitcoin, is that you are at the very unvirtuous but relevant point in which it has traded to the lowest price ever from September of 2024. So a lot of the times you just get a pity bounce around these regions. I mean, if this thing I'm not saying it's going to, but if this thing bounced up to like 2.25, I think that'd be a gift from God. Then just don't look back. But yeah, man. Probably one of the most bearish charts that we've seen today, actually. So yeah, this one's really struggling, I suppose. Hopefully that was helpful, man. Let's see. Don't you dare bully our Zur Krown. That's right. I'm Zur Z. Let's see what else we got. Everything's. I am they, them. And what are you? Gay Lord? Yeah, that's exactly right. No comment. Moon Raccoon says everything sucks. I'm not exactly on that conversation. I think a lot of these things are going to be opportunities for big bounces, but a lot of them long term look fucking awful, man. BNB USD. Yeah, let's check out BNB. Let's see. I haven't looked at this thing in, it's got to be ages now. All right, let's get rid of everything. Let's do new charts, something fresh. Surprisingly, like probably the best chart we've seen today so far. 5-day, weekly, both hidden bullish divergence coming off of this next higher low. Like I'm always going to like that. Monthly is above all major moving averages, so I don't hate that. I mean, it's still got, another 6.5 days left to go, but above 630, it will fulfill that condition. If anything's looking decent, it's actually BNB, which is kind of fucking crazy, man. If it does have another push to the upside, I'd be looking anywhere between like 680 to 700. Maybe it even just continues on for new highs from there. Then again, when I look at the quarterly, I mean, you do have bearish divergence possible here, but I don't know if that's going to matter on something that's this new. I don't think that the RSI really has enough time to like populate and get good reads, but that would be the counterpoint to what I'm saying. The obvious area to get bearish on this is honestly not that helpful though, because the obvious area to get bearish on it would be the March lows, which are essentially the same thing as your February lows. Below there, okay, this thing starts to lose structure. It starts to enter into like a much more dominant downtrend, and maybe this thing comes back down to like $400 after that. But I'm inclined to say that's it's that is the less likely thing to happen. I mean, this thing is always traded kind of weird, so. Don't fucking do that. No, none of that. Elsa is impersonating Rachel Zegler, and there will be no sexy time adventures ever again. It's can't be happening. And I know I'm not the only person. I know I'm not the only one. Oh my God, if you cut your hair, oh Jesus, don't do it. Please don't do it. Jesus. All right. Holy shit, Caretaker, is that, you probably know Belgium. Is Belgium, no, that looks like Dutch.
Yes, it looks like that.
But he lives in Belgium. So what the fuck is it? Does Belgium have their own language? I don't think they do.
Please smart.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Grok here. All right. What language does Belgium have? I like how Grok always knows what I actually mean. Yeah, okay, it is Dutch. It is Dutch. Yeah, look Dutch. All right. Fair enough.
Smart. You're smart.
Hey, take care, Nikki Page. Good morning to you, and see you next time. It is Dutch indeed. Let's see. Let me find some more of these highly esteemed altcoin technologies for sale. Let's see. Let's CRV for Sayed. Yeah, we can look at CRV. I can't promise that I have anything good to say about it. If memory serves me correctly, last time it looked very bad, and I'd say it still looks quite bad on the long term. Short term, wow. Daily already looking like the next lower high. All major moving averages and extremely bearish posturing as well. Yeah, I'd be looking for this one to come back down here. I think that you get another drive of hidden bearish divergence, or actually, no, it's not going to identify it like such because it is a slightly higher high than what we did see from the March. But again, I think that this one pushes back here, man. Weekly, not terrible. I mean, I don't think it's going to make new lows on this next push, but yeah, hard one to love, man. Very hard one to love. My lines still working there actually, which is kind of surprising, but yeah, I'd be looking for a swing high here, probably something like this, and then maybe it tries a bigger bounce after that. I don't know, but I do think that in the short term it comes back down, and then re-look at it later. Looking at the quarterly, I mean, the long-term direction is down. All bounces are for selling for the eternity of its life, so it's hard to go against that, man. Super for Calamity. Yeah, we can look at Super. We can also look at Cardano as well. I know that one's popular, and I haven't looked at it in a long time. Super trading at 52 cents. Fuck, man. Like, I never want to bet against Elliott, and I never want to, like, I don't like it, though. But, here's the thing. It has essentially traded to its last major, most important low from this cycle on August of 2024. It's like, I don't think you're going to break down from here. I think you got a bigger bounce before anything else. I think that this thing at some point in the upcoming months will bounce up to like somewhere between 80 cents to maybe $1. But yeah, if I'm just going off of classical charting, like I can't say that I love it. I'll put it that way. But overall, I imagine it follows the same path as what I was looking at for Bitcoin. It's like short term, does it come back down? I think it's more likely to come back down in the short term, but I do think it's an opportunity. I don't think it's breaking to new lows. I do think you get a bigger bounce after that. And, I would say 80 cents on the lower end, maybe even as much as like a little bit over $1 on the higher end, and come back to it after that, see if it reclaims anything significant on the monthly, which won't happen until it's back above 80 cents. So I guess it's possible. A little bit, or a lot of hopium in there, but it is possible, I suppose. So yeah. All right. Okay, and the other one was Cardano. Yeah, let's check out this one. I'm curious because this one was looking a little bit stronger than most things last week, and it actually literally has done just about nothing. It's in a really tough spot here because it does genuinely look different over the past couple months here than most of the other majors, which always kind of throws me off. It's also above the 200 simple and has been actually for a while, which is not what we've seen even on Bitcoin recently. You got many drives of bullish divergence coming off of these last few lows. Like I really hesitate to call any downside here. If there is, it's just very likely a short-term move, and I don't think that I'd really be expecting it to go below about 65 cents in the short term. I do think that I still think that you're more likely to bounce from this region. Yeah, about 65 cents. 65 cents, maybe it comes down close to there again. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to break below there, or at least not now. I think that this one's more likely to bounce higher overall. And if the monthly closes above the 5 exponential, which is 73 cents, I mean, I'm not going to be bearish on something that's above all major moving averages. And it's like the only thing that's actually above all major moving averages, at least right now. Quarterly is not terrible as well. You know, this one still looks long-term like it actually wants to try some real upside, which, look, I say this as someone who is not a fan of Cardano or anything like that, but just calling a chart what a chart looks like. You got higher low right here on the quarterly. You already got a higher high above the last couple of years. So to me, this thing is more than likely before the end of this year to trade up, well north of $1. I would say anywhere between 135 on the lower end to maybe $2 on the upper end. Maybe it even makes new highs. I mean, this thing is clearly the strongest of the majors that we've seen today. Or actually, no, BNB would be. BNB certainly would be. Where would I change my opinion? Where does this thing come back into normality and play how you would expect it to play? Well, that would have to be below. It's not even that helpful, but below the February lows. Unfortunately, that is the only area that makes sense. But yeah, that's where it's like, okay, this thing is like, it's not just a little bit bearish, it's heavily bearish. And downside is extremely serious downside is extremely likely. But for right now, with still 6.5 days left to go to the end of this month, it's in a pretty good position, all things considered. All right. Adrian says PP coin on the hourly. Okay, going very low here, but let's see. What's PP doing let's go down to the hourly. Hourly consolidated right here. I do think it actually tries back up towards your range highs. Something like this. So this would be your range, or actually your range high is a little bit closer to here. I do think it retests that high, probably at some point today. Again, long term, I mean, I'm not going to be a tremendous fan of this, but I do think that you have a greater bounce over a long enough period of time after a daily pullback. But that's not what you're interested in. You're on an hourly time frame, so it doesn't really matter for you, I suppose. Yeah, I do think it's more likely to test the tops out of the range here. Is it likely to break out? Granted, the way that most things are looking, I have to say no, but technically I can't look for this thing to actually break down and have a real downside move as long as it's above 78,500, whatever the hell that number is. At that point, I do think that you're going to see a general move back down to your lows from the past couple weeks. But I don't think you're breaking a new lows here either. Like, it's just most of these things are still in like very strong bounce areas on the very, very high term time frame. So I really want to refrain from saying that it's likely to actually, continue the long term downtrend to the downside or like a greater bounce. This thing I think could easily bounce. Again, this is like very long term compared to the hourly, but over the next couple of months could easily bounce like anywhere in this region right here. Okay, too many damn drawings on this one, but yeah, anywhere between there. Still be long term bearish, but that would be a pretty big move. So yeah, all right. Weird. I thought Richard Hart was a stand-up dude. Yeah, well, he is, if you ask him. I actually did a podcast, or not a podcast, but a live stream with him once. It was actually really, really fun. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I'm not like endorsing his stuff or anything like that. But hey, the second that you mentioned fucking Hex or Pulse or anything like this, the whole army of highly intelligent non-NPCs comes after you. And if you say anything that is not the praises of Richard Hart, they're coming after you. And then they make like groups so that they can get other hexers, like people who truly believe, to come after you as well. Richard Hart's a genius.
He had a nice purse.
He did have a nice purse. Yes, he did. He's very good taste in clothing. But I genuinely think Richard Hart he's obviously very, very intelligent. He's probably a genius. But I think he's using it to, well, I'll leave my opinion out of it. But sometimes you have people who use their genius for, I'm not even gonna, I don't want the fucking heat from the Pulse people. It's so fucking annoying. All right. What else we got? Okay. Where did I leave off? I'm looking for some, all right. Matthias wants to look at Plume versus the dollar. All right. I don't think I don't think I've ever heard of this thing. It amazes me how we always find new shitcoins every stream. Actually, pretty, like, again, when you compare it to everything else that we've seen today, it is a significantly different chart. It also is a much more young chart as well, but it is a much different chart, right? Look, I have to favor upside here just because of trend. Do I think in the short term you can come back down to like 17.5 cents? Sure, but if I had to bet on a direction, it's going to be to the upside and it's going to be to new highs. But I'm not really going off of much information here. So, how accurate is that going to be? I mean, can't have too much confidence when you have a very low amount of history here. But if I had to call it, I think you're reaccumulating on the lower time frames, something like this. Between here and here, your upper boundary at 22 cents, your lower boundary at 16.75. You're right smack dab in the middle of that. I do think your next move is likely to the top side of the range. Does it break out and make a new high? Maybe. Maybe it tries tomorrow or Friday. But yeah, generally, I would be bullish on it as long as it's above the lower boundary. Just favor the trend there. But we shall see. We shall see. All right. Anderson707 says, Bollinger Bands pinching together on Bitcoin daily, so a move should be coming soon. Do you feel we may go down first for a long cycle rather than a short cycle? I mean, I'm guessing maybe you weren't here at the beginning of this video, but I do think that Bitcoin is more likely to come down in the short term. I just don't think it's going to make a new low below the March lows. So I don't know if that's the same sort of down move that you're looking for, but that's what I'd be thinking. Now, on the other side, I don't think it's going to be a long cycle. I think it's going to be actually a truncated cycle if we do see Bitcoin close below the March lows or just anywhere significantly below like $75,000. Anywhere below there, okay, big fucking problems. I don't think that you're going to see a return to 90, 100,000 plus anytime soon after that. I think you're a lot more likely to see somewhere back down around $50,000 and we probably play out a year of sideways and boringness in a general range between like 50 and 70, which would be too much for even me. But yeah, man. Again, I think that's the that is the less likely thing to happen. But have to have conditions for where my major biases turn around, and that would be it. So yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, holy shit, man. It's 3 a.m. for you. You must be on the Eastern Coast there. More power to you, man. And good night. Get some sleep, man. Matthias is back. He wants to look at IPU. IPUSD. Okay. It's another new shitcoin. Can't say that I've ever seen this thing before. And also, okay, I think Matthias is the guy to ask about shitcoins because he's found two of the better looking ones. This is, in my opinion, the best looking chart that we've seen today. Very clear and obvious uptrend, very clear and obvious. I mean, if you want to call this a chart pattern, it would be an ascending triangle, something like this. I do think over the next few days, maybe even today, you hit the top side boundary, which is just under $7. I think you're very likely to break out of there at some point, maybe on the next try, maybe not, I don't know. But from there, very likely makes new highs. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it other than that. Again, it is way too new for me to do like a real detailed analysis. And always I want to say when there's a lack of information, like I don't feel that confident on this, but call a spade a spade. That's a fucking uptrend. That's, very obviously an uptrend, hidden bullish divergence on the last higher low. I mean, that's picture perfect. At least as much as it can be for the minimal amount of data and history that we do have. But yeah, bullish, like obviously bullish as long as you're above essentially yesterday's low, which is what, 550, 545, something like that. Let's see what else we got. Still got a little bit more time as well. Maybe another 10 or so minutes. Fart boy.
Oh, she's so into farts.
Yeah. What is the obsession with farts? Fart boy. All right. Fart boy versus the dollar. Oh, another great, amazing chart. What do you know? Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible, man. Shit, this thing didn't even bounce with the rest of the market. That is not great, but probably at least tries a little bit of an extension of this bounce here. I mean, could easily see this thing back around like 5 cents. But I would have a general bearish bias as long as it's below, let's call it this high right here, which is 5.8 cents above there. I mean, you do have a bit of a short-term reversal, and could get like another almost 50% move up to north of 7 cents. But this thing has never known what an actual uptrend is on any time frame that matters. So I'm extremely hesitant to say that. The most likely thing for this thing to do is to maybe have a short-term upside move, but I don't think it's going to be taken out this high, and I do think that this thing eventually comes back down to the lows and makes new lows. Like extreme bearish bias as long as you're below this region right here. You can rally up as close as you want to that region, but as long as you're below, I would not favor it. Put it that way. Let's see. Hey, what's up, El Kabong? Yeah, let's actually look at XRP. That is another one of the major caps and has looked decently different than most things as of recent times, but is today different. I still think the LARP lines are generally what I'd be looking for on this thing. I do think in the short term you are putting in a bit of a lower high right here. So you got the high side of your range at just over $2.50. Low side of your range is going to be closer to like $2. Do you get all the way down to $2? Maybe not, but I do think that you come down a little bit from here and ultimately set in a higher low for a time frame like the daily. So yeah, it could easily come back down to like 220, for example. And again, where would I switch on to like a full-on mega bearish bias? This one's actually super simple. Anywhere below the March lows will do it for me. But for now, monthly remains above all major moving averages, well above the 5 exponential as well. That's with 6.5 days left to go in this month. The quarterly is going to close on new all-time highs. Like I can't be bearish on the higher term timeframes here. So if it does come down in the short term, theoretically it should be an opportunity. Any sort of a higher low, especially above like $2 would look pretty good. So yeah. All right. El Kabong. Yes, we need some more Kabongs in our life as well. Are we doing a head and shoulders on an XRP? I can see why people would think that. You got left shoulder here, head right here, and right shoulder right here. But in general, when it comes to head and shoulders, the left shoulder should almost always, if not, in fact, I would even go as far to say you should always kind of see the left shoulder higher than the right shoulder. In this case, the right shoulder is higher than the left shoulder. So that to me tells me that that's probably not the play here. That's probably not the play. But look, the way to play head and shoulders, whether this is bearish or bullish or whatever here, is the same. Below those March lows, I don't care what the fuck you call this, what sort of Quasimodo fucking pattern you call this. Downside is the direction, and this thing will come down fucking hard from there if that were to happen, like 150, maybe even lower. But for now, I give it the benefit of the doubt just for genuinely looking much different than at least Bitcoin, in the more recent times. So yeah. All right. Head and shoulders never works. No, it's as with anything, there are certainly probabilities, and head and shoulders, I mean, it depends what sort of a trend, what sort of a greater market cycle you're in. If you're in a bull cycle, are head and shoulders likely to work out as bearish patterns? Maybe not, but they're also quite useful as a failure into a bullish continuation pattern as well. So yeah. But it's certainly not a super high probability pattern from what I've seen. I think it's honestly, I think it's close to 50% in crypto. Can you cut my handle? I can try. I could try, but no promises, sir. Let's see. Let's see if we got a few more over here before we shut this one off. Bitrod says, Krown, have you heard of BitE or BitI, Bitcoin inverse ETF? I think someone brought it up like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's the ProShare short Bitcoin ETF. What do you know? Goes down. What do you know? It goes down. This actually will be quite interesting to watch. When did this one start? This one started in June of 2022. Oh, wow. So there was a short ETF like way before we got a spot ETF. All right. Well, I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, hasn't really been on my radar, to be honest, but maybe this should be on my radar because this chart very obviously trends, and I imagine that all of these lower highs correlate to higher lows on Bitcoin. This is from January 2024, so yeah, that would work out. This is from August 2024, so yeah, that also works out as well. I remember that time. September 2023, I remember that one as well, yes. February 2023, also remember that one. Okay, and the highs are, of course, at November 2022. Interesting. I'm going to add this to my list, actually. I'm going to watch this a little bit more. Boom. There we go. All right. Lovely. Yeah. Anyways, as far as the sort of short term goes, it does look to me like this is another lower high. And probably comes back down closer to the lows. It is going to have a little bit of an up open today, but I don't think that's going to be a reversal. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, that's what I have to say about that. Whoops. I literally just tried to sip my water with the cap on because I am actually redacted. Let's see. Has Fartcoin been looked at? Has Fartcoin been looked at? Do you want to look at Fartcoin? You don't need me to tell you that Fartcoin is really good and going to the moon. Definitely buy everything that you can and do it on leverage with no stop loss and throw away the keys to your account because you can guarantee in just 1 month you're going to be absolutely fucking filthy rich. But yeah, again, this is a thing that has seen the cycle highs. I feel extremely confident in saying that. Maybe it's seen the all-time highs for its full life period. You've just got a nearly 300% bounce here, I think. No, sorry. I correct myself. 225% bounce. Nowhere near a 300% bounce on an asset that is a literal fucking meme coin. I mean, this right here would be a good place for another lower high. I do think that this one will swing back down, probably 40 cents, maybe even below 40 cents. If it does come back down below 40 cents on the next swing to the downside, that is where I'd say, okay, this thing is actually going to come back down to the current lows. Sorry, not the current lows, but the lows from March, which is actually significantly further to the downside. It's all the way at 20 cents. So that's more than a 50% move from where it's at right now. But again, the sort of bias breaker is at 40 cents. And I do think that you do trade close to 40 cents, on a downside move. Monthly, not much to go off of. Bi-weekly, nothing really to go off of. 10-day, nothing to go off of. 5-day, nothing to go off of. The problem is that it really wouldn't take much to get this thing on an even bigger bounce. I mean, it's already been a fucking astronomical bounce, right? But, for example, where's your last lower trending high? It would be all the way back here from February 11th. And that's, 72 cents? I mean, shit, man, I could see this thing going to $1 and still coming back down. Like, that's the problem with these things. They do have some pretty impressive bounces, but they all fail. Just depends how high it gets first. So is this the next lower high in a series of lower highs? Might be. I would like to see the daily close below yesterday's low at 52 cents or just under 52 cents before I'd feel like very confident in saying that. But yeah, it's there. All right. Meekers Media says, next thing you know, instead of Fartcoin, someone will make Shartcoin. Yes, very, very clever indeed. Jonathan Burncastle says, holy shit emoji. I am actually awake to catch the live stream. Fuck yeah, man. You must be probably in America if you're still awake. Because I've been awake for many hours now. It's about 10:30 a.m. right now. All right. Fartcoin will follow through. It will follow through your bunghole, sir. Fartcoin is great if you open 10x leverage for a few hours. Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of opportunity here on an asset that trades in such a volatile range. So yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know what the liquidity is like on something like Fartcoin, but yeah. Oh, Sharkcoin has already been made, says Crypto Clown World. Yeah, I would be a little bit disappointed if it hasn't been already made. You're in the Midwest. Okay, sweet, man. I actually used to live in Chicago myself, kind of the Midwest, I guess, but probably different than most of the Midwest as well. I loved it though, man. I really did. Do you think we're in a bear market, says Astar Whale? I wouldn't say that yet. I would only say that we're in a bear market if Bitcoin if Bitcoin comes back down below the current low and closes below there, that's at the point where I say, hey, something significantly different is going on in this cycle. I think Bitcoin's going to $50,000 before anything else, and who knows what happens after that. If you want to call that a bear cycle or not, I don't know. But as long as Bitcoin is above the current low, this is like my last line in the sand for keeping the bull market hopium alive. If and when it does come down below there, well, that's hopium evaporated, just like the farts. Let's see. Ooh, nice one. It's coffee coming up right there. Hello, HJSH says, thank you. Would you be able to check on Pinlink or XMW? Okay. I don't know. I'll try. Again, like couple of completely nameless shitcoins I've never heard of before. I should check what? Fried's coin. I will in a moment, but yeah, this is garbage, my man. This is absolute fucking garbage. If it does have a bounce, which I'm not saying it is going to, but if it does, I would look at any sort of move towards $1 as a gift from God. This thing is heavily bearish as long as you're below this high, which is 150, which is close to like a 2x move from where you're at right now. So you could bounce a lot and still be bearish as hell. Another thing that I'd feel quite confident in saying that, this thing's not going to be getting back above this prior all-time high from December, like maybe ever again, but definitely for the cycle. But yeah, there's going to be bounces along the way. And percentage-wise, those are big bounces. Those are big plays. Like you can make money on them. Just depends. How's Elsa's peanut coin? Don't ask her because she's going to start crying. Ivan posted about Fart also. You mean Ivan on Tech? Ivan on Tech, I haven't spoken with him in a long time. I really like the guy, though. He's what? Oh, all right. Elsa has sent me your coin request. Queef coin for the ladies. Ladies. Apparently this is the one ticker that there is a real opportunity in this market right now. Let me tell you, no one's made a queef coin yet, and it's ripe for the picking. As a plumber, I get enough shit during work. Fair enough, ma'am. I actually have a very high respect for plumbers. It's like you only have a high respect for plumbers when you meet a bad plumber. And I've met a bad plumber once, like many moons ago. So I really like the good ones. What was that? Oh yeah, my phone. Got to remember, I have a phone call coming as well soon. JTO for Matthias. Yeah, we can do that. And then I think probably need to shut this one off. JTO or Jito. At least it's not as shitty as like some of the last few things that we've seen, right? And generally, I don't think that this thing's going to be making new lows from here below your cycle lows, or at least not in the short term. I do think, maybe it comes back down close to the current lows at like $2 or something. That's fine. It doesn't really do anything, but still more likely to bounce out of this region than not. Does it bounce all the way up to like 2.5, 275? I think so at some point in the upcoming month or two. Just the short term is not super clear right here. I guess in the short term, if I look at it from this angle, then, I'd have to be looking for a move towards 235 to 240-ish region. Yeah. Not the worst thing certainly not the worst thing that we've seen. I guess the long-term bullish view is that you're in one massive accumulation range here with your highs at 4.25 and your lows at 169 or so. You can spend a lot more time within there, that's for sure. But I don't know. For right now, like I would give it a chance here to put in a bigger bounce. Not this month, but in April, perhaps. Yeah, fair enough. All right, Sonic. Okay, we'll do Sonic. This is gonna be the last one. This is formerly FTM, I believe, and I guess we can go here. There should be more history on something like this, right? Sonic. It's got to be some Sonic Inu. No. All right, let me just try to type in FTM. Maybe this will work. Yeah. Okay. Same chart. I mean, I like the higher low right here. It's kind of similar to the last chart. It's like, it's got a series of higher lows here. So yeah, I don't think you're going to be making new lows below your March lows anytime soon. I do think in general, you're going to be bouncing higher probably in April. I think at least like 69 cents. If things, however, get above 87.5 cents, that's where I say this thing is continuing. And I think it actually is quite likely to continue just in general. I mean, I've seen significant higher lows on the weekly. Monthly, it's a little bit less confidence inducing, as is the quarterly. So maybe I'll hold back on this next statement, but I'd still give it a chance to bounce a little bit more here. See if it can actually clear above, especially like a buck in April. If it can, okay, this thing's actually bullish. Until then, I do think that it bounces more. Just might not be like a moonshot bounce or something like that. Kind of have to hold it back for now. But yeah. All right. That is where we shall end it. Yes, indeed, Tyler. We'd go for the FTM chart. A little bit easier there, at least. A lot more history there as well. But yeah, I need to get over to my own, what's it called? My own massage. I need my back to get fixed, my neck to get fixed. It's all fucked up. And as Bear Nutrition has just reminded everyone, if you would consider to tap the likes, it does help out the channel. It also helps you get it also helps YouTube algo just push these videos to you. So it is also in your own interests, if that is of your own interests. Anyways, Crypto Clown World says, Krown, could alt be in a fractal of a Livermore cylinder? Very possible. Possible. But yeah. Anyways, that's where we'll be signing off for now. I'd like to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you.